Chris Barnes.
Inspired by our German artisan roots, Süß Caramel has redefined the art of caramel making. Slow crafted, all natural, and preservative free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Süß Caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SüßCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
It's 9:06.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Hermann.
Good morning and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm Lois Hermann, your host, and I'm here to inspire you with positive messages and help to shine the light on people who are making a difference in our world. When we focus our thoughts and energies on what we love to do, we create powerful shifts that cause us to be more positive and more peaceful. As we lift our energy, we empower everyone around us. If we each do what we can to make small shifts in awareness, from kindness to healthy habits and simple happiness, we create ripples of hope. Join us as catalysts for positive change for our families, our communities, and our world at large. I hope you're inspired by today's show. And today I'd like to welcome you to summer. Boys, oh boys, it's here in a big way, isn't it? I hope you're enjoying this heat wave. I know that here in New England it doesn't last too long, so while we have it, we might as well enjoy it. Of course, we're having to water our gardens a little more frequently, yet I'm really grateful to have the warmth of the sunshine. And she's good?
Yeah, busy.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, one of my favorite things to do is to open the windows at night to let the cool air in. We have a lot of heat in the sun in the daytime, but it cools down at night. And so the bonus when you open your windows at night to let the cool air in is you get to awaken to a symphony of bird trills and chirps and songs. And I often lay there trying to figure out who is singing, and I can identify some of the birds now, but I really love to know what they're saying to each other. That would be, it's kind of like also wanting to know what my cats are thinking and saying. That's always fascinating. So this has been a season of change for many people, and for me as well. During this time of isolation, what I noticed is clients are thriving with the online virtual hypnosis sessions. And some of them they're relaxing in hammocks, and some are calling in, reclining in their cars, and others are just chilling out in their bedrooms, which is really good. And on many levels, they avoid the stress of having to drive into an office, chill out, then okay, come back, get in your car, and leave. Instead, they can process where they're at. They can take the time to integrate and to process the messages and the inspiration. And sometimes they just cruise right along and go right back into a wonderful state of peace. So hold on just a second. Let me give you another number. We're trying to get Carol on the line, and her phone seems to be busy, and it could well be that I've just written her number down wrong. So let me give Art a different number for her to call. Okay. 2321. See if you can read my writing. My writing is a challenge, let me just say. Anyway, well, following the lead of my clients that are really saying that they're loving these virtual sessions, I've decided to completely go virtual with my hypnosis sessions, and I'm loving it. So, with the help of my dear friends and family, I moved the last of the furnishings out of my physical office yesterday into a brand new home office. We took an old room that's just kind of a junk room and moved my husband into there and moved into my new office. And it's I'm really excited about it. But I was thinking about it last night, and you know what? This was I told my son who was helping to move, I said, the next move is going to be into assisted living facility, because I've moved 30 times personally. But I thought, you know what? I've moved a lot in my business as well. And as I was thinking about it, 30 moves also in my business. So, and it's not just like, pack up a box. It's like moving a whole suite of rooms, because when I plant someplace, I really plant. So God love them. These guys, thank you. Thank you, Dave and Paul and Kurt and Peyton, for all your help moving all that heavy stuff. And we're good. So now is the fun part. It's the feng shui. It's the organizing and getting everything, helping everything to find its place. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful time of newly creative, creating new space. And it is a time for change. And I'm really, really excited, because this move offers both clients and myself more balance in the frenzy of life. Between clients, I can actually get up and go for a walk. I can go sit in my gardens. I can water some things. I can just reconnect with nature. And it just really brings my energy back up. So what we need to do is we need to keep ourselves balanced on all levels. Physical, so this is helping me with physical balance. And there's also the mental, emotional, and spiritual balance. I don't know about you, but I'm really grateful. I have a really strong spiritual practice, so I feel, for the most part, fairly balanced spiritually. And then I have some great, great friends who help me with that emotional balance. I have a group that meets twice a month now, and if you're interested, it's Chronicles of Hope Community, chroniclesofhope.net community. You can register there and sign up to be involved in the circle of friends that are supporting each other in this time of chaos and crisis out there in the world. It's really nice to surround yourself with positive, uplifting people where you can go and you can feel safe chatting with others. So that's a wonderful forum if anybody's interested. And please just check out Chronicles of Hope.net, the community. I also want to tell you, I'm really excited because all of these shows and everything, we're building out our YouTube channel, and I learned about Bitly. So we now have a new Bitly way to get to it's bit.ly, bit.ly/Lois Hermann YouTube. And that's the best way to get to my YouTube channel. Or you can just go to my website, loishermann.com. But anyway, in order to keep myself intellectually, mentally stimulated, I've been writing my books. And I'm so excited that book 2 is officially off to the publisher. So save the date, 8/8, don't be late. The book will be available for $1 on Amazon. And I want everybody, please, 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 I'm really wanting to push this book out there so that people get these messages. They are so, so timely. And I want to share that we had several people do some preliminary reviews, and my heart is overwhelmed with the wonderful, wonderful reviews that have come in. And I'd like to read just a snippet from one of them. We're going to be posting them all on social and on the website. But one from one of my early mentors from 25 years ago, a woman who was a huge inspiration for me, Marilyn Gordon from California. Here's what she said. "This is a profound, graceful, and loving book which brings forth the possibilities for all humanity. It opens us to ancient truths buried in the inner being, a book of revelations." Wow, I was so thrilled to have her words of kindness from that. You're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590. We're here every Sunday morning, and I think they play the show at least one other time during the week. But I'm here to shine the light on others who are doing inspiring things. And if you would like to learn some simple ways to maintain balance in your life, well, today's guest, Coach Carol Carol Phillips, will help you to keep it simple and healthy too. The award-winning author of 52 Simple Ways to Health, her book offers weekly tips to easily help us embrace a healthy lifestyle in this crazy busy life that we live. So please help me welcome Carol Phillips. Carol, are you there?
I am here. How are you, Lois?
I am great, thank you. I'm semi-exhausted from all the move yesterday, and then today it's clean it out and start organizing stuff at home. So it's been a busy time, but it's very hopeful, and I'm very excited. So thank you. And how are you?
I am wonderful. And yes, these crazy times are offering us opportunities to make some really great changes, right? Where they might leave us physically exhausted, but the brain likes changes.
That's exactly right.
It is exciting. And we're usually inspired in those times to do things that really take care of ourselves.
And you're right. I have been my entire career. I was telling my husband I have had 2 times where I've had 6 weeks off in my whole life, since 17, where between school and career, and those were the 2 births of my babies. I had 6 weeks off for each of them, and then back to work. So
nice.
Yeah. So this is for me, it's a wonderful way to stay grounded and connected and inspired by nature. Just feeling so blessed to be able to do this.
Right. Terrific.
So tell us about you. How, I call you Coach Carol. Tell us, how did you get started in what you do?
Well, what's interesting is I started out in all fitness. I really loved exercising. I taught fitness classes and really was inspired to help others really embrace exercise. And so I went to school for exercise science and became a personal trainer. But then what I found was that I was doing a lot of health coaching because I could see that all areas of people's lives were connected and flowed and affected each other. And at the time I was working for the state, and I was falling in love with worksite wellness because I could see that people needed to focus on their health and wellness and happiness at work too. They didn't just leave their whole self at home. And so the then Governor Lynch issued an executive order because he saw the importance of health and wellness in the workplace for not only the employees, but their families. And so he issued an executive order saying he wanted every state agency to appoint a wellness coordinator to promote health and wellness. And so my commissioner immediately offered me the position, and I was like a kid in a candy store. I started putting, workplace presentations together, promoting health and wellness in the workplace.
That is so congratulations. That's so awesome for you. And I know back at that time I was working corporate, and I remember when they started some of the worksite wellness programs working for Hewlett Packard, and it was wonderful. And we could have chair massage, and there were presentations on, they brought in a fitness center at the facility, and there was a lot more emphasis on yoga, meditation, all of that. So so you were one of those people who were inspiring that in a corporate level.
Yes, because we do need to focus on it 24/7. And we also really needed to start teaching employers that if you focus on the whole person and letting them have fun at work and be relaxed at work and have resources that focus on their mental and physical health, they're not going to be less productive. They're going to be more productive. So I ended up going back to school for health education, and then I took master's classes in designing and implementing worksite wellness programs. And I just ended up going down the path of teaching people the wellness model, which is, I teach under the wellness model of the 7 dimensions of wellness, which teaches us that all areas of our lives are interconnected and they ebb and flow and they affect each other. Negatively or positively. So, for example, if you make one small healthy change, you might say, for example, you want to lose weight for an upcoming wedding that you're in, the bridal party. But you're not thinking about how, if you do get more to an ideal weight, or if you're exercising more, there's an endless list of direct and indirect benefits that you get from that. So it really helps people to simplify things so that they can see that small efforts will have great results in their
Right.
overall health.
So I'm curious, what are the 7, you talked about the 7 areas, what did you call them?
Right, the 7 dimensions of
7
wellness.
dimensions.
Right, so they break down, it covers every area of your life, social, physical, spiritual, occupational, etc. And so financial, and then, all the major categories have subcategories, and, it eventually covers every area of your life. So then when you start to see consciously those connections, then it's easier if you're about to do something that's unhealthy. It's easier for you to say, okay, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to do that because it's going to have a lot of direct and indirect negative consequences for my health that I might not be thinking about right now. And so once you see those connections, it makes it easier to make healthy decisions and realize that even the smallest decisions will be a great investment in your overall health and wellness.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I find it, there are no coincidences, but probably 20 years ago, doing a hypnosis session with another one of my inspiring mentors, I was given this message, this prayer from Archangel Michael. And I say this prayer every day. It's very interesting. And he said, ask for protection first across all levels. And he gave me 8 levels. So I find it fascinating that as you're reciting them, he said, ask for protection, healing, and empowerment across all levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychic, social, professional, and financial. I have since added technological and environmental because they're important parts of our life too. But I find that fascinating that the dovetail there, that you have got that same insight, that same message.
Right. And to give you a quick example, so people can really think of something concrete, is say, for example, just one night you don't sleep well. Just one night you're tossing and turning, and you have to get up early for work the next day. Well, when you ask people what are the negative consequences of not sleeping well one night, they'll be quick to say, well, I'm grouchy the next day, which that's going to have a negative effect on your social connections at work.
Right.
I'm going to be less likely to exercise, right? So that's, your physical health is going to be negatively affected. I'm going to be less likely to cook a healthy meal. I'm going to be more likely to pull into fast food. I'm going to be more likely to make an impulse purchase. So that falls under the financial category. Now, once you start looking at this and you see, wow, look at every area of my life is being negatively affected by just not sleeping well one night.
That's fascinating.
Now, if you flip that, right, so here's the wellness connection and how we can easily use it to our advantage. If you just flip that and, just get a good night's sleep one night, you might just be thinking, oh, yeah, I'll feel better tomorrow if I get a good night's sleep. But if you are aware of the wellness connection, then you say, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to make sure I get a good night's sleep tonight because I'm going to get all those other benefits too.
Wow.
And now you start applying that to every area of your life, a few times each day, and it can make a massive difference in your overall health and wellness.
That's a wonderful, wonderful example of how interconnected our beings are, all parts of our energy is, and how we are. We often think of the whole the bones are interconnected and the muscles and everything physically connected, but the way you describe it, our energies are the different parts of us, the parts of our being are interconnected, and how they affect each other as well. Beautiful example.
Right, absolutely. And this COVID time, even though there's many negative, horrific things happening with COVID-19, it is teaching us that we are all connected,
right,
and making people very aware of different aspects of their life that they hadn't been aware of before. And awareness is the first step in making positive changes.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And so once you're aware, then you can choose. Then you're have the opportunity to learn and to choose. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And if the listeners want to read more about that aspect of it, one of the articles that I've written is Good Things Come Out of the Worst of Times.
Yes.
And they can go to my website at askcoachcarol.com and check out the blog post.
Wonderful. And by the way, you're listening to WSMN 1590, Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. But I wanted to say that you can probably tell Carol she is a skilled radio host. She has her own show, so she knew enough to tell people how to find her. I often forget to ask that with my guests, and I apologize to other guests. But tell us, Carol, about the show that you usually that you have.
Right, I'm on The Pulse out of Concord.
Okay.
And it's Ask Coach Carol. And I'm on the segment with Kale and Company with Ken Kale. Mm-hmm. And it's WTPL FM. And we just talk about everything wellness.
Yes.
And dive into the corporate wellness at times, too, and what companies need to do to keep their employees happy and healthy, because it's going to come back to them tenfold.
Sure. So you do a lot of corporate wellness training. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I work with both employees and employers, but it stems from the wellness connection. So basically, it covers every area of their needs. I'll go into companies, especially during times of change, to talk to employees and give them tips on how they can get, from point A to point B with the company's changes more effectively. But we also talk about all different wellness topics. And then when I'm working with the business leaders, it really is showing them how to apply health, wellness, and safety in the workplace to increase productivity and to create and maintain wonderful relationships with their employees. A lot of times there are very simple tips and techniques that employers can implement to increase productivity, but also if they're going through times of change, like right now, obviously huge changes with companies,
yes,
that teach them the best ways to connect with their employees so that they have less turnover, less absenteeism, reduced healthcare costs, and a lot of it is, the communication and prioritizing the employees' health and wellness.
And actually knowing how to deal with employees and help employees when they're going through a tough time. I remember being in upper management at a time in a hospital where we were involved with layoffs and having to lay people off, and that was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do in my career. And I wish that there was somebody there that could help coach the process for both the management and the employees. There was such a long-term devastation after that. Even for the employees that did not get laid off, there was an ongoing fear, an ongoing just a disturbance in the energy afterwards. So it sounds like you would be there to help advise through situations like that as well. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely, because the hardest times get right down to the primal parts of people's brains, sure, wanting to feel secure and safe and be able to put food on their table.
Right.
And it's also connecting the dots between the business leaders and the employees, because oftentimes the business leaders don't realize the simple things they can do to make a huge difference. For example, if there are going to be layoffs, don't hide that fact, right, and then suddenly you're laying people off, because people in the community talk, and companies have reputations, and you want to be known as taking care of your employees and being trustworthy and being open and honest with them, because employees, they want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be dealt with honestly, so they don't want to feel that they can't trust their employer. So I like to remind employers that you need to create a work family. So people have their home family and they have their work family. And just like when they're at home, people need to take care of each other and trust each other. Companies need to do the same thing with their employees, because then the employees will be happier, healthier, more productive, less likely to leave, a company's best publicity is the, talk amongst people in the community about their business.
A happy employee.
The amount is huge.
Yeah.
So your employees are your best free advertisement. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on that, not only because of the profit you're going to gain, but because it's the right thing to do for our society.
Exactly. And it sets an example. And once that level of trust is broken, it's very, very hard to reestablish that on an individual level, a business level, and a corporate level. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you talk to employees, when they leave, so studies have shown over 50% of employees leave because of a bad relationship with their direct supervisor.
Yep.
So it's not about pay, it's not about benefits, although those things are very important because people need to be able to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they want to have good relationships with people because that keeps their stress level down, and it keeps them better able to not only take care of themselves, but take care of their family.
That's interesting that you should say that, because last night I was having a toss-it-turn at night myself for a little while, and I was ruminating over the moves. I mentioned this earlier, and as I'm thinking back, many of the times that I have moved, and I've had some fascinating jobs and different career, I've elevated to the top in one career and then shifted. And as you're saying this, most of the time when I've left a position, even if it was a high-powered, high-paid position, it was because of the relationship with my immediate upper line. And you're exactly right, because when you have an uncomfortable situation at work, many times we spend more of our waking hours at work than we do at home. And we want to be happy and respected and valued and validated in our work. And if we don't have that, then we feel, then it's going to, as you said earlier, it will have a ripple effect ultimately on our physical health.
Absolutely. There's a hierarchy at work that's usually backward from what's going to keep employees happy.
Seriously.
Because, the higher ups, they feel, more powerful. They give themselves benefits at work that the non-management employees tend to not have. And, that sends a message to the non-management employees that they're not respected enough, they're not good enough, etc. And what you want to do is you really want to almost put your non-management employees, on a pedestal, so to speak, as far as how you treat them and how they feel about themselves, because they're taking care of your clients.
Absolutely.
And, you talked about moving, and we all know there's a very short list of things that really cause the most stress in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, death of a close family member, divorce, but also moving. And it doesn't have to be from one house to another.
Mm-hmm.
It can be one job to another, or it can be, a move that, for whatever reason, it's very significant to you. Those all cause a high level of stress in the brain because it gets to the primal part of our brain where our brain wants to know what's going on, feel secure, feel settled. And so when we upset the apple cart, that's where our focus needs to be. And so employers need to respect the fact that employees may be going through a variety of things, and instead of having the attitude of, okay, you've been late a few times, we're going to write you up, this is a warning. Instead, something as simple as pulling an employee in for a private conversation saying, hey, is everything okay? Is there anything I can do to help you?
Right.
I mean, that's a huge, it's like giving your employee $1 million because it says, I care about you, I've noticed that something's wrong.
Right.
And I was helping a group of business leaders one time, and I was talking about this topic, and one of the employers said, or one of the managers said, how can this work, because I can't solve all my employees' problems. And I love that he asked me that question, because it gave me a great opportunity to say, this isn't about solving all of your employees' problems. It's about just showing them that you care.
Right.
And that's invaluable to them. And you can do some things. You can let them know that you're flexible, that you're willing to have an open conversation about, oh, okay, I'm sorry you're having car issues. Feel free to take a little bit of time off to get that fixed. Don't feel guilty.
Right.
Everything's fine. And then, you can make up the time later, whatever it is. Just letting the employee know that, it makes a huge difference.
And
so
just being listened to. I was just listening to my friends Justin and Nicole on the show just before ours, and he made a statement: a problem shared is a problem lessened. He said it much more eloquently, but in other words, when somebody shares a problem, it's not about solving it, it's about somebody listened. And so many people are not listened to today. So just in the sharing, that person feels validated, and being able to speak it gets it out of their off of that hamster wheel in their mind, and they're able to articulate it, and it diffuses it at least somewhat.
Right, absolutely. And then, the wellness connection is well in play in those situations, too. So, for example, there's an employee who's having trouble making ends meet, and they're having vehicle issues. Well, now they don't have as much money to spend on food to feed their family. Mm-hmm. Other self-care things that might cost a little bit of money go by the wayside. Mm-hmm. And so, one's connected to another, and then the stress just keeps going up and up and up.
Sure.
So if we can all remember that we are one big community, and we're all connected, and we all need to help each other. And sometimes doing something really simple that, only takes a little bit of our time can mean the world to other people, and it can make a huge difference in their lives. You're
absolutely right. And I wanted to just point out to the listeners that you're listening to WSMN 1590. This is Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, and my guest today is Carol Phillips. Ask Coach Carol, and you can find her at
AskCoachCarol.com.
There we go, AskCoachCarol.com. So, Carol, tell us a little bit more about the book that you wrote. You are a published author, an award-winning author of 52 simple ways to health, correct?
Correct. I was working with individual clients, and I was also doing a lot of corporate work. And I was, love getting the message out about how simple things can make such a difference. And what I was finding was so many people are struggling because they tend to look at other people that they view as healthy and happy, etc., and they assume that everything's going to be too hard for them to make changes. And also, a lot of people didn't know simple things about nutrition, or the simple components to having a good exercise workout. Also, it all starts with our thinking. We need to change our negative thinking to positive thinking before we can start taking great care of ourselves. And so whenever I had success with clients or employees, I wanted everybody, I wanted to kind of shout it from the rooftops, hey, this is what's working great for this person. And I would always encourage employees to continue the conversation after I'm gone so they can see that they are great resources for each other. And then I thought, well, you know what? If I start putting this in writing and write a book, then it'll be available to whoever wants it. And the goal was to make it a very easy read. So it's purposely very short chapters, 3 to 4 pages each, that you can read in about 5 minutes. And you can either read the whole book in one sitting because it's not that long, or you can take one chapter a week and just really focus on that concept. And over the course of the year, you can make incredible changes with all different areas. So, for example, a lot of times people get stuck in, I just need to exercise a ton a day and I need to eat perfectly and then I'll be healthy. Well, that's overwhelming. Nobody can do that.
Right.
And there's all different areas. So I encourage people to remember the wellness model, because if there's areas where you really, really struggle, instead of hyper-focusing on that area every day and feeling guilty, forget about that area of your wellness and find the areas where you are doing well and increase those, and then learn about other areas. So, for example, working a little bit on stress reduction, working a little bit on getting better quality sleep at night, and then that's going to end up overflowing into that area that's giving you a hard time, and it's going to start being easier for you to make changes in that area. So, for example, I have clients who said to me, I couldn't lose weight until I stopped thinking about trying to lose weight.
Exactly.
And I started focusing on the other areas where I'm successful,
Right.
and I just decided to become more successful, and then the wellness connection takes over.
Mm-hmm.
So, the book can be read all at once, or you can do a chapter a week and just implement those concepts and apply them to what works for you.
So it's like a weekly guide that you can just go through and apply. Okay, just for this week, I'm going to work on this, and so therefore it's doable. As I would say, it's an achievement goal or an action goal that you're working on right now that ultimately leads to the achievement goal. These are action goals. So that's great. And I know that people can find your book on Amazon, right?
Correct.
Yes. So tell us a little bit more about the different ways you help people and how you would inspire people. What would you encourage people to do to be inspired in this time of so much stress and so much chaos? You and I live in New Hampshire, where it's very, very it's more rural, it's peaceful. We don't have as much COVID here. We definitely don't have all of the strife that's going on in some of the bigger cities. What would you advise or recommend to people to stay inspired?
Well, especially people who are struggling in any way, whether it's, their mental health, physical health. I always encourage people to slow your life down and take a step back and start analyzing yourself. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? What do you spend a ton of time stressing about? People who like to journaling is a great way. So if you just spend 3 days writing down all your thoughts and noticing patterns, you can see what are the areas that are consuming your time in a negative way. And the book talks about how you need to change your thinking from negative to positive, because our feelings control our thoughts, and our thoughts control our behaviors.
Right.
And so when people are trying to suddenly, the reason New Year's resolutions never work is we're trying to change our behaviors, and we haven't really identified our feelings and changed our thoughts about how we're conducting our lives. And so we really need to take a step back and learn more about us, and also who are the people in our lives we're surrounding ourselves with, and start to identify who's helping us move forward and who's holding us back, because those connections can be very strong too.
Exactly. There are some people that are around that you identify that are toxic, that are not beneficial, and so it's okay to recognize them and have small doses of them, but surround yourself with people who are inspiring and uplifting. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. We have the Inspiring Hope community that's meeting, and it's wonderful to be around others of like mind that are here, that it's a safe place to go and to talk and to share where you are uplifted and inspired. And I love the fact that you keep saying, shift to the positive, because that's kind of my mantra, is to be a catalyst for positive change. That's the whole premise behind the books that I've been putting out and the work that I do with hypnosis and coaching, is to help people to recognize when their mind is in that negative pattern, stuck in the mire of negativity, and the things that they can do to shift to be more positive. And again, with hypnosis, I do a fair amount of regression to root cause. Where does this come from? And one of the things that I've been recently investigating is looking into the origin of negativity across our genetic ancestral lineage. If there's soul wounds that happen across, our family lines, there's the past life things, but there's truly along the DNA. If we have been if we've come from a lineage of people who have been abused or abusers, then that mindset is still bothersome, and it will affect our positive, negative outlook on the world. So helping to heal at that deeper level, that's kind of the deep dive work that I do. So I think we dovetail really nicely.
Oh, absolutely. And as you know, I'm one of your clients, and I can tell the listeners that you are amazing, and we definitely do. We're on the same page regarding that, because one of the chapters in my book is getting over past hurt.
Yes.
Because when I'm talking to groups, I like to say that they're ugly layers in your brain that you have the power to peel back. Once you recognize them, you can peel them back and get rid of them, so that the true part of you that loves yourself and wants to take care of yourself, that we were all born with, can come out. Because for a lot of people, it's being suffocated. And we live in a world where, we tend to see people who are very calm and kind. Society sometimes sends this warped message that's a weakness instead of a strength.
No. Yeah.
And we tend to, in our society, sometimes think of bullies or people who aren't so nice as being strong, but the opposite is actually true. And if people are really struggling where to start, what I say to them is, pretend somebody is going to give you $1 million if for the next week, every morning when you wake up, you decide for that day you're going to be as kind as you can be to yourself, and you're going to be as kind as you can be to everybody you encounter. Over a week's time, you will notice such a huge shift in your thinking, and that will directly translate into how you take care of yourself.
And that's what a great suggestion. That's brilliant. One of the things that I find that most people, when they start to embrace kindness, they're kind to everybody but themselves. A lot of times the self-talk, I will ask clients, think about the things you say to yourself. Are those things you would say to your best friend? And most of the time they say absolutely not. So we have to prioritize ourselves in that loving kindness paradigm, where we have to be kind to ourselves too, because we deserve it. And as we start that process of being kind to self, especially if we were raised by someone or people around us who are not so kind to us, we have to be kind in order to shift that pattern of self-talk to be more kind. So I love that, Carol. And I want to just remind the listeners that you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590. And I'm here today with Coach Carol Phillips, and we're talking about the ways to health, the 7 foundations of health, and lots of great suggestions and ideas. So, Carol, tell us a little bit more about how you help people. You do private coaching, you do group coaching, and you also teach first aid, CPR classes, etc., right?
Right. When I started my own business, I thought, I want my company to be what I love to do. And I was definitely, very well invested in the safety side also. We offer, it's all American Heart Association courses, CPR, first aid, BLS for the healthcare providers. And, the whole prevention piece to me is very important. And having people have the abilities to be prepared if there's an emergency and how to respond well. So we not only offer classes that help employees and healthcare professionals to become certified, but we also include a lot of great communication techniques, so that from the second somebody is aware that there's a medical emergency to the time first responders come, those are critical moments where people can, make a situation much better or much worse. And so we focus on those skills too for our students, is how to communicate best and how to respond during those first few minutes while you're waiting for first responders to arrive. And if anybody is interested in our classes, we also offer them on site in companies. And they can go to askcoachcarol.com and click on CPR for more information. Or they can call me directly at 603-321-2750. And once again, the website is askcoachcarol.com.
And I have actually had my most recent CPR trainings from you, and Carol is a wonderful teacher, makes it fun and just very inspiring with a lot of great examples. And I wanted to reiterate the concept of what happens the first few moments of an emergency is critical. One of the things that I'm certified in is hypnosis for first responders. And so teaching first responders, but they absolutely, most of the time, instinctively know what to say. So say you come across somebody and they've had an accident, the first thing that you want to say is, I'm here with you, you're okay, it's going to be okay, people have been called, because they're in a state of trance at that point, and anything you tell them will go straight to their subconscious mind. So they're very aware even though they seem disoriented, but if you tell them that you're there, it's going to be okay, they will hear that, they will know that. But if you tell them, oh my God, look at all the blood, they're going to panic and it's going to cause problems. But you can actually, there have been studies that have proven that you can have people stop their bleeding just by your words, by your telling yourself, slow down, your body's doing well, it's going to heal, it's amazing. It's the things that you say in those first few moments of an acute emergency that are critical for the ultimate outcome.
Right, absolutely. It goes right to that primal part of the brain because they're in survival mode.
Yes. Yeah. So, Carol, I'm loving having you on here, and I know that you have read the first book, Chronicles of Hope, on Quietus. Chronicles of Hope, the collective, you have yet to read, so I'm excited to be able to share that with you on 8/8. Please, everybody, buy the $1 on 8/8. Save the date. But Carol, can you tell people what your thoughts were on Chronicles of Hope, the collective? I'm sorry, the On Quietus, the first book.
Right. Well, I am, plugged in, so to speak, to the spiritual world and realizing, and it goes hand in hand with the whole wellness connection, the spiritual part is part of it. And what I loved about the book, and of course I have little flags all over different pages, is that, about how, our thinking and how we're treating each other is connected to the universe. And, we are, it's almost like, we're in a test right now to see how we're going to respond and how we're going to, be kind to each other and kind to ourselves, and how damaging the negative energy can be when we're doing the opposite. And how you connect that to your clients, especially when you have clients that, they might come to you for one reason, but then they discover, this spiritual side of them and how powerful that is with their thoughts and how they treat themselves and other people.
That's exactly right. And in book 2, they get a little bit more clear on where does this hate come from? So much hate in our society, and it's causing so much negativity. But there's a consistent message that the actual, you said this a little bit earlier, the bullies, the ones that are so loud, there are actually fewer of them. There are more good people in the world, and that comes through very loud and clear in the collective, from Jesus, from Aurora, from the Archangel Samael, that there's more good in the world, but their voices get overshadowed. They're not the ones out there screaming because they're more content. And so that was part of the reason for me to start this show, is to shine the light on all of the good. There's so much more good. So if you turn on the news and you listen to all of the people who are rioting, yes, there's a foundation behind it, but that anger and all of that, that's actually a very small subset of society, of our, and I've had people, I actually had somebody email me yesterday, what are we to do with all of this? And my guides have been saying, be the peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. We have to continue holding the peace in our hearts. If this is not affecting your individual world, send prayer, send light, send love, but keep your state of mind in a place of peace and a place of loving acceptance, of gratitude. And then we collectively can help to shift on that spiritual, ethereal level. So
Absolutely.
it's chaos out there for some people, but those of us who are at home, like I said, in New Hampshire, it's a business as usual. Well, sort of. We're getting back to business as usual, but we don't have all of that angst and that the anger that's going on in some of the inner cities, the bigger cities, and my heart goes out to them. And yet I liken it to, if someone is drowning, you don't jump in with them. You throw them a lifeline, right, Miss CPR?
Right, absolutely.
So
yes.
we have to stay grounded and centered in our own peaceful serenity and send them positive energy, send them love, send love to the police, to the people, to everybody, so that there will be an ultimate, a higher level resolution that we cannot see in our day-to-day lives.
Right, and just as you were saying with the emergency victim, is if we listen to other people and say something as simple as, what can I do to help you?
Right.
That, it's volumes to them.
Right.
And that, talk about inspiring hope, right?
That's
and
right.
They know, okay, I'm not alone.
Right.
There's people who are listening and they're willing to help me when I feel like I can't help myself.
Mm-hmm. What do you need? And sometimes they just need to be listened to. That's what do you need? And you never know what someone needs. And of course, that whole assume thing, we can sit in our place and assume, but we don't know unless we ask. So it is all about, asking Coach Carol, asking, that's one of the things the guides have said all along. Ask them. They can help. Ask for, intercede with prayer, with asking for guidance from the wise ones of the collective that are around us, willing to help. And we just need to asking the people and asking for guidance and help from above. So.
Right, and then stopping to listen, because I learned that lesson when it comes to prayer is I used to ask for what I wanted, and then I'd say amen, and then I learned, okay, wait a minute, shouldn't I be stopping and listening? And so I do. I'll pray, and then I stop and I listen.
Brilliant point.
It comes to me.
Brilliant point, because so many people and my clients, when I teach them, when they go into trance, they're able to hear the messages from their passed over loved ones, from their guides, their angels, whatever, and they're like, wow, I never knew I could hear them. That's because they didn't listen. So that's you perfectly stated, Carol. That's the key, is the asking is one, and two is listening for the answers. And the answer could come in a random phone call, or it could be an ad on the TV. The answers to your prayers or your asking can come in a myriad of different ways. We just have to be aware enough to be observant for the answers. So,
right.
Carol, we're winding up here. I thank you so much for being here with us today. And I know that I love to end the show with a favorite quote of yours. So what is your favorite quote?
One of my favorite quotes is, do something today that your future self will thank you for. So remembering that making a good choice right now, you might not think too much about it, but every small effort is a big investment in the health and wellness of your future.
Brilliantly said. Thank you so much, Carol, for the work that you're doing. And thank you for inspiring our listeners today. And you can find us at WSMN.com, LoisHermann.com, and chroniclesofhope.net. I'll see you, or you can listen in next week, where we'll have another wonderful, inspiring session at WSMN 1590. Meanwhile, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless.